Meanwhile, here in this country, the federal government has unveiled a new initiative today aimed at combating the rising cases of extortion in Canada. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne was one of 3 cabinet ministers at that announcement.
Our message to criminals is both powerful and simple. Enough is enough. And this morning, we're going to double down on measures to fight extortion. That is the key message that I'm sending to all those who are listening and watching at home and will read about these announcements today.
And the CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick was at today's announcement and joins me now live from Mississauga. So, Megan, what more can you tell us about this new initiative aimed at extortion in this country?
Well, they're calling it the follow the money strategy. So we heard at this news conference, Arthi, that these kinds of crimes are entirely motivated by money. And so what they're trying to do with the steps taken today, make it harder for the criminals committing these crimes of extortion to reap the rewards of these crimes. And so with today's strategy, they're leveraging the resources, they say, of FINTRAC. That is the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Centre of Canada. And so they say there's going to be new partnerships between FINTRAC and the government and financial institutions like banks and credit unions so that they're sharing more financial intelligence, that they can get information faster and relevant information to try and crack down on these crimes. FINTRAC is also going to have dedicated liaison officers, they're saying, that will work directly with law enforcement agencies here in Ontario, as well as Alberta and British Columbia. They're also going to issue clear guidance to financial institutions in terms of how to detect these kinds of crimes, looking for suspicious behavior, essentially, patterns in behavior to try and detect these crimes. And also publishing intelligence reports, looking at how the money that these criminals get from these crimes is laundered, trying to expose essentially how they're carrying out these schemes. So these measures, again, they're saying are all aimed at detecting and disrupting and preventing more of this crime from happening in Canada. Here's more of what we heard from the finance minister.
When we follow the money, we expose the networks behind these crimes, we identify those which are responsible, and we disrupt their ability to operate, whether it's here in the Peel region, in Canada, and even internationally.
So now, Megan, just how big of a problem is extortion in this country?
Well, we got an indication at the news conference how prevalent it is just here in Peel region alone, which includes the city of Mississauga, where we are right now, as well as Brampton. The deputy police chief for Peel region said last year their police service got 476 reports of extortion incidents. Those are either successful attempts or attempts at extortion, and that of those, 190 of those incidents targeted businesses, and the majority of those were businesses owned by members of the South Asian community in Peel region. And more than 24 of those incidents involved arson and gun crimes as well. So that's just a snapshot of what's going on here in Peel region alone. And we know these kinds of crimes have been on the rise in other parts of Canada as well, including in British Columbia. The federal government and other levels of government recently held a summit on extortion in Surrey, BC, and one was also held here in Ontario in Brampton to talk about how to tackle extortion. And we also heard from the police that these crimes are also underreported, in part because of the fear that people experience when they get these threats of extortion. What we heard at this at this news conference today, Arthi, from a range of politicians and police representatives, they were trying to reassure the public that they are tackling this type of crime and encouraging people to report it to police. Arthi?
Megan, thank you for this. That's the CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick in Mississauga, Ontario.